Alright, so for this tutorial we're going to talk about something a little different. We're going to talk about version control, because now that we've made a sufficiently complex program in Eclipse, we want to be able to version control. So if you don't know what version control is, it's basically like you can upload your changes to a website like github.com, which we can load up here, and it basically allows you to keep track of who's making what changes, so that way you can collaboratively create code. Then it also allows you to keep track of the changes that you have made. So, if we look at like the Steamworks 2017 code, you can see there was 20 changes made by multiple people, and you can see exactly what happened. For example, I coded this, and this was just a rotate to degree function. So, how do we get this working? Because this way, if your computer dies, you won't lose all your progress, and yeah, and then you can also keep track of changes. So if you make a mistake, you can go back and fix. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to git-scm/downloads, and we're going to download the Windows client, and tell it to keep it, even though it might be harmful. I'm just going to walk through the installation process, and then I'm going to teach you how to use Git, because this is mainly the version we're going to be using. It's very helpful. Just say yes to that, and let's start going through it. You can install it to anywhere you want. I'd recommend the default program files path, and there's a lot of options. So I would associate .sh files from with bash. These two are up to you. I would not check daily for Git for Windows updates. It can be annoying. Git large file support I'd keep. .git configuration files with the default text editor is also good. I'm going to put one on the desktop. I'm going to keep the Windows Explorer integration. I'm basically going to keep it default and just add the desktop icons. Next, I'm going to create a start menu folder because I think that's very helpful. I would use Notepad++ if you have that. You can also use Nano. Vim is a little bit confusing. I prefer Emacs personally, but you can start a whole war about that. So you can use, if you don't know Vim though, I would not recommend it. Nano is basically very user friendly. Notepad++ is great for a Windows user, I'd say. So that's the one I'm going to go with. I would use Git from Git Bash is what I would recommend, not CMD or the Unix tools. Yeah, I would keep it to Git Bash. I would use OpenSSL. I would do checkout as is commit Unix style line endings. This is because I use Linux a lot more. You can also do checkout Windows style commit Unix style, or checkout as is commit as is. This is really up to you. If you don't know, I would keep it commit Unix style line endings. That's just the way I personally like it, because I do a lot of my development from a Linux machine. I would also use min_tty. I would not use the default console window. I would enable this, I would enable this, I would not enable this. And there you go. Now it's going to go ahead and install, and I will show you just how you can. Alright, so now that you have the Git installed on your computer, we're going to have to make an online repository. So the way we do that is we go to GitHub, you should make an account, and then go to your repositories, and you can hit new. So once you open up a new repository, you just have to give it a name. For now, I'm going to FRC tutorial. And then we're going to just make that. And don't include any git ignore or license. You might want to later, but for the purpose of this basic tutorial, we're just going to go ahead and create an empty one. So GitHub is going to be where all the files are stored online, and then I will put those on there. So how are we going to put those files up there? We're going to use that program that we installed. So the first thing I would do is I would navigate to your workspace. So when you're in a workspace, find out where that is on your computer, and open up your project. So for us, it's going to be tutorial. And what you're going to want to do is, if you installed Git Bash the way I told you to, and follow the instructions, you'd right click and you do Git Bash here. And this opens up a Unix shell. And the Unix shell is kind of like a Linux type, command prompt. It's a little bit complex if you've never used one before, but for now we're just going to focus on Git commands. So if you type in LL, you can just see the files, and those files are, your project files. So we need to add them to a Git repository on your computer, and then we need to put that Git repository on the internet. So the first thing we want to do is initialize the Git repository. So you want to do git init. And there you go. Now you have an empty repository there. Now we need to add our stuff. Now, in order to see what's in the repository, we type in git status. And the git status is going to show us that the untracked files is everything. We want to start tracking some stuff. Let's say we can track a folder. We can type in git add, and then let's add our entire source folder. Now, if you want to autocomplete something, like just have SR, you push tab, it'll autocomplete it. So if we git add source and we do git status again, we can see we've committed all the files in source, but none of the other stuff. Let's keep adding all the important stuff. So I would add the class path, the project, the build files, the build.properties, and the XML files. Oop, you gotta hit git add build.properties and git add. Alright, and then there we go. Everything's added except for bin. Bin can be generated by Eclipse, so there's no real reason to add it. If you want to clear this screen, you can push Control L, and that'll just kind of get rid of it. And there we go. We've added it, and now we have everything tracked. It's all added to the Git repository. Now, every time you make a change, you're going to need to re-add the files that you changed, and then you need to bundle those into a message that you can send to the server that's keeping track of your files. So the way those packages are called is they're called commits, and we commit files by doing git commit -m, which stands for message, and in double quotations you're going to put your message. So I'm going to put initial commit and push enter. So there we go. Now we have a commit called init commit, which contains all of our changed files so far. Now all we need to do is link it up to the server. So it's really handy if you open up FRC tutorial, which or whatever your Git repository is called. And this line right here, if we copy that, or you can just copy this URL and add the git remote add origin yourself. This will allow us to link our local repository to the one on the internet. So if you hit Control Shift Insert to paste, it's a weird keyboard shortcut, but Control Shift Insert, that will paste. And we want to do git remote add origin and then the URL with a .git at the end. And if you hit enter, we've been linked up with it. Now, this has not changed anything on the website, actually. If you refresh, nothing has changed here. This is just linked the two. If you want to actually push your commits onto the website, you have to do git push origin master. And it will resolve the deltas, and there you go. It pushes it all up there. And if we refresh, we can see all of our files are there, and all of our changes are there. And let me just show you a basic example of how to make some changes. So let's say you go to drive base and you make a change like this is a comment, and you save it. If you do git status, it'll show you modified and then that long line. So what you can do is you can do git add source, and then if you do status, you'll see it's been added again. And you can just do git commit -m and then do I added a comment. And then git push origin master. And it's going to take a little bit, but what's great about this is you can keep track of exactly what you changed and when it was changed. So now if I refresh, it'll say, oh, I added a comment, and there's been 2 commits, and this website has so many great statistics. You can see so much. Additionally, someone else can add commits while you're adding commits, and you can really work together. So those are the commands that you really need to get started with version control. So yeah, if you click on this, you can see a bunch of files and what you added on them, and then in this you can see, oh, it's just one file, and you can exactly track where it was. But yeah, those are the commands you need to know. So git init makes the repository, git status shows what you've tracked and what's not been tracked, git add will add things to be staged for commit, git commit -m will make the commit happen with a message, and git remote add origin, which we found from that when you make a new repository, links the commits to the online. That step, by the way, only has to be done once. It does not have to be done every commit, just once. And then git push origin master will take your commits and put them on the website. So I hope you guys have learned from that. It's extremely helpful and extremely critical for FIRST Robotics to use Git, and I hope this kind of gave you a whirlwind tour of just exactly how to use it. Thank you so much.